Hello there, you're welcome again to this class. Last class, we talked about a brief overview of Moho software. Now we have Moho running. We're going to talk about how we create a new project in Moho. We have our Moho open up here. So to create a new file, we're going to go to File, New. We have a new file open up. It opens up the project in the default settings. We can change the settings by going to File, Project Settings. Now we have this window. This is the project settings for our file. We can change, first of all, the dimensions of our project. We could come here and select a different resolution. Let's say we want a higher resolution, we use a 4K. We can also come here and manually adjust our resolution. But I think I'll go with 1080p in this lesson. We have different screen sizes. A standard resolution for a screen, which is called high definition, is usually this size. If you want a higher resolution, like a 4K resolution, you can also come here and change it as well. Each screen size is quite different, but the standard are these. You could also adjust the frame rate. Frame rate talks about how many frames per second. So in this case, we have 24 frames per second. So 24 frames make 1 second. You think of a frame as a piece of paper. So you have 24 pieces of paper that are being drawn to show in just 1 second. This is the standard, so we'll leave it at this. We also have start and end frame. This is how long our project lasts. So if we have frame 1 to frame 240, and if 1 second makes 24 frames, how many seconds is 240 frames? That's math quiz for you. The answer actually is 10 seconds. As you can see here, we have 240 frames and then we have a 10-second mark. You can always change this later on, so you can just skip this for now. Next up, we have the background color. This talks about this color, so I can come here and change the color to something else. I can click this to color pick from my screen, or I could come over here, click that. It opens up this window where I can change the color myself. Next up, we have depth of field. Depth of field talks about how blurry objects are, and usually this is very important when we talk about creating a 3D effect. By default, you see it's disabled. If I were to enable this, you will see I have several options. I have focus distance. This talks about what's the distance of the object that's going to be in focus. Then when we talk about the focus range, is how wide that range of focus is. And then lastly, the max blur radius talks about how blurry are the objects that are out of focus. But this really is not important right now, because I would suggest you create your scene first, then you can come back here and enable the depth of field and adjust the settings based on your scene. We have render style next. This is a very cool effect that you can have for your project. We have fill style. This talks about how the fill color is going to be. So it creates this sort of nice effect for everything in your project. So it has many inbuilt functions that you can play around with and see what works based on your needs. We also have stroke style, same thing. And then the layer style. Many nice effects. We have the line boil. This effect, when turned on, the lines will look like they are boiling or vibrating. Also a very nice artistic touch if you like, but that depends on what you want. Next up, we have sort layers by depth. So this feature sorts the layers based on how they are far or near from the camera. And one thing you know about layers are that layers are stackable. Let's go back quickly and I'll show you a quick demonstration. I'm going to have a new layer, which we already have, layer 1. I'm going to create a shape here. Then I'll come over here to click a new layer. I'm going to create a circle. Let's give it pink, and then draw this over here. Now you see we have 2 layers in our scene. The first layer, layer 2, is the circle. Layer 1 is the square. Because the layer of the circle is above the layer of the square, it appears above this in my canvas. But I could drag this below, and then the square appears above the circle. That's how layers work. So in my project settings, this option sorts the layers by depth. So the layers that are closer to the camera are going to be above. Next up we have sort through distance. This other option sorts by the origin point of the layers and not the content of the layers itself. We're going to talk about these later on, but just know that that's what it does. Next up we have anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing is a cool feature where it smooths out the edges of our shapes rather than jagged. We also have noise grain. Noise grain gives a noise grain effect to our project. You can adjust the number based on what you like. We also have pixelation. This gives us pixelation effect for our project. Next up we have stereo rendering. This is useful when we're working on 3D. So let's say you want to have some 3D features in your animation. You could use this, like the kind you see when you go for a 3D movie in the cinema. But this is very specific based on your project. You could adjust the eye separation for the red and blue channels. But I think we'll skip this for now because this goes above the curriculum of this course. So once you're okay and fine with your project, come over here and press OK. So now we have our project set up. We're also going to save our file. We'll go to File and Save. Of course, we're going to give it a name. So I'll call this 1. Give it a name as you prefer. Save it whatever name you like. Now we have this set up. Lastly, I'm going to tell you about workspaces. In Moho, workspaces are a very cool feature. And I go to File, New Workspace. Essentially, the workspace are a group of folders. And this helps you organize your project effectively. So you could keep all your assets in one place. So we have several templates. We have sequences. We have simple. All of these are workspaces. So in this workspace, we have these folders in the workspace. So if I have to have many assets for my project, like images, audio files, animatic files, I'll save them all in here. You could also enable this option to create a blank Moho file in your workspace. Let's press OK. It's asking us where we want to save it. So I'll just head over to my desktop for this example and press save. Now you could see that it created a new file, and if I head over to my desktop, I would find that there, and you can see it here. I open it up and we have this. The same thing we saw in the window not too long ago. So what if I want to create my own workspace? It's quite simple. You head over to File, open Custom Content folder. It opens up our Moho content folder, and then here we are going to go to Workspace Template. And you can see all the workspaces that have been created for us. So we can simply create our own workspace. Let's come over here and call this test. Press OK. And then I can create my subfolders in here. I can create a folder for images. I can create another one for my characters, and so on and so forth. So when I go back to my Moho software, I can head over to my File, New Workspace, and then you should see Test here. I can also create a new Moho file and press OK. And of course I'm going to save it in my desktop for this example. That's how we can create our own workspace. So in the next class, we're going to go over the important features and elements of the Moho interface. So I'll see you then.